Happy to have you here this afternoon. Join us on Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro TV. From our studios at Regional Crowd, the Queer Boy Master, very live and active on DSTV channel 277 on Facebook and YouTube at Metro TV Ghana. I am Bright Nana Kwesiabeni, and today we are talking all the big stories that happened through the week. After this break, stay with us. All right, welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana, here from our studios at Regional Crowd, the Queer Boy Master. We are live and loud across all social media platforms, and we are discussing the biggest stories of the week here on the show this afternoon. Let's take you through some of the topics we'll be looking at here with my guest. And as you can see on your screen, we are going to be looking at, first of all, resignation of ministers to pursue presidential ambitions, and also the dismissal of 8 Chiana SHS students. Ghana's economy, what's the state of the economy as to speak? We heard from the World Bank saying that the city might start depreciating again if we don't take charge of the problems facing the economy as we speak. And also, we'll be looking at agreement of a 30% increase in base pay after a series of negotiations with organized labor and government. And joining me here today on the show, I want to say usual suspects, but then I want to say usual suspect, but yes, one from the MPP, one from the NDC, very good friends of the station because they come here regular, very, very regular, and presently on the show all the time. Alfred Kumi is a member of the MPP, and he is also on the team of the man who just resigned to contest for presidency, Alan Kojo Tremantin. Alfred Kumi. Alfred, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Since resignation, before I even come to you, Alfred, how are you feeling since the resignation? I've been seeing on lots of screens.
Joe Tremantin have been waiting for since last July. And so it's good news for us because if you have a vision to be president, you should know that you have to start the process.
All right, I'll come back to you for that conversation.
We are happy he's resigned to start the process. That's all about it. We are very happy he's resigned so that we can all work together and start the process.
All right, and Wanda Madilo is development analyst and a member of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Good afternoon to you and welcome.
Yes, a very good afternoon. Many happy.
See you for the first time in this year.
Yeah, work, school, work. It's fine. We'll be fine.
Let's begin first of all with the resignation of some of the ministers. We can say they are not formal yet. They are outgoing. Alan will becomes a former minister from the 16th of January. So for now, they are outgoing ministers. Let me begin with you, Wanda. Alan House.
First of all, let me congratulate my brother. He seems to be the only young, fresh blood in the team of appointees for Alan Kojo Tremantin's campaign. And it's no mean feat. I think it's something we should applaud him for. It's a wonderful gesture. At least it inspires other young people to aspire for greater heights. And so, congratulations. I just pray that you will come back to opposition as quickly as possible, no matter what you put out. Yeah, on the issue of the resignation, my personal opinion is that some of these resignations were long overdue. In fact, if anybody should be resigning, the president himself should have resigned long ago, including the vice president and all that. But all said and done, it's okay for them to have resigned at this point in time. Their capacity to win their, positions within the MPP is a different matter altogether. I don't have facts on that, but it portends well for this country to see young people trying to aspire to rule this country one more time, and we want to see what they bring to the table in view of the ongoing challenges or in view of the ongoing crisis the MPP has led this country into. In fact, somebody like the Greek minister, the least said about him, the better. I thought that by now he should have actually tendered in his resignation long ago, very much long ago, because all these things about spiraling of inflation and all that, you can put it on the head of the Greek ministry largely, because about 32% of all the things in the CPI basket, which is the consumer, the price indexes, are all about 32% of them are all food items, alcoholic beverages, and then food items and all that. So if you have a minister who claims that he spent over 5.7 billion Ghana cedis on planting for food and jobs, we should be seeing some better results in that aspect. You know that I brought into this studio some food items. He's been bold to even tell us a few things that, plantain is going for free and all the others. And so it's been a very embarrassing spectacle, especially for the Agric minister. I thought that he would have done this country a lot of favor, a lot of good by resignation. On the other side,
I want to believe you are talking from the position of opposition.
No. This is the position of Ghana. On the other side, what hurts me the most is that you have these people resigning, and then you see the president in a hurry to fix, same people that, the general populace have rejected over some years now, crying about how they have managed the economy. For instance, Ken Oforiatta taking over from Alan, it's a disaster. And that's a slap on the face of Ghanaians. And we didn't think that the president could be this, arrogant, to have this posturing that when the whole country says that, look, we don't want this guy because he's managed that one ministry so badly. Now you give him another one to manage. And I think that these are some of the bad decisions of this government that has led us to where we are today. You are talking about two strategic ministries. You're talking about foreign direct investment in this country. All the monies that come into this country in the name of investment, direct investment, all come to that Ministry of Trade and Industry. And then you have a finance minister who is plunge the country into this crisis, having to play extra role in managing the funds that come into this country. I think that's a disaster on itself. And it's not strange. It's been the character of the Akufo-Addo-led government to be very, dismissive and, have a very arrogant posturing when it comes to the voice of the people. You didn't expect that an NPP government that, seemed to thrive on the gullibility of Ghanaians over who is a better ruler, who has a better record in government and all that. After thriving on some of these frivolities in terms of statistics, you come into government and you see this kind of shambolic performance. I think that this is embarrassing to say the least.
I believe Alfred Kumi has an alternative, or let's say an alternate view to what you're saying, Alfred.
My brother, first of all, I want to say a very big thank you to your production team, Metro TV, for the opportunity given me to be on set this afternoon. Then I also want to say a very big thank you to your lovely listeners. Senior, one of the things that we have to understand is that when it comes to politics, it's always a process. That process leads to something called reorganization. If you understand that very clearly, you know that in times like this, people with political ambitions will then have to resign, because someone like Alan Kojo Chemantin will tell you that, first of all, he would not want to be in power so that someone will say that he's using the very resources that are meant for the state for his personal ambition. Yeah, people have had, people have had other counter, arguments or other different mindsets saying that you shouldn't have resigned. But you have to understand that he has also an ambition that he has for Ghana. And this ambition, he says that is what? Jobs for the people, cash for the people. That has been something he's been nursing since 1996. Senior, resigning in politics can be based on different things. Now we know Alan Kojo Chemantin has resigned because of what? Political reasons. Should he have resigned early? I can tell you on authority that in July 2022, there was a petition sent to him. We had a discussion with him, a group of people, with older people, younger people. We had a conversation with him, like over a 1 week conversation. And he said that we are in serious times, you are in challenging times as a country. It will not be fair on his side. He was thinking about the fact that when you are put in charge of something, it's better to discharge your duty diligently. That's what Alan Kojo Chemantin thinks about Ghana. You can recall that when he went to Good Evening Ghana and Paul Adomotre asked him, when he was doing the IMF campaign, the sensitization, to let Ghanaians understand that, yes, we decided not to go to IMF, but this is where we've gotten to. and he was sensitizing Ghanaians about the IMF. On Paul Adomotri's program, Paul said, we know you are going to run for the flag bearer of the MPP. And right there, he stopped Paul and said, Paul, I'm an old horse in this race. I'm not in a hurry to become president. There's currently crisis going on in Ghana. It will be prudent for us to focus on what we can do to let the Ghanaian economy come back on its own or stand back on its feet. That is what he stands for. That in times of crisis, he's not going to walk away and say that I have my ambition. He asked us, so Ghana is in crisis and we are going to walk away because we have an ambition. What country is he going to lead over? So when you listen to his speech very well, he says that yes, Akufo-Addo has built a strong foundation, but yes, he believes that there are some things that he could have done that could have been done differently.
But is that not where the problem is? If you are in power and serving as a Minister of Trade and Industry and know that your president, the man under which you are serving, isn't getting it right, and you know how to get it right, why don't you help the man in power rather than reserve it until it's attained the constitutional position?
You see, this
is that not where the question is?
No, this about this in the speech, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. Right? You have to understand that there's a tree adage that says, Nyansa wo eni baku for trim. And there's another thing that you have different preference, and I also have a different preference. In life, where they said what you would do to get to is different from what I'll do to get to. That is what we have to understand. Every man has his own vision. That's the same way every man has his own choice. But you see, government is progressive. He stated there's a foundation built, and he's going to continue on that foundation. If he discredited, people are saying that he's discrediting Akufo-Addo, which tells me that a lot of people don't listen very well, and it's just sheer propaganda. If you think he's discrediting Akufo-Addo, if it was true that he was discrediting the president Akufo-Addo, he wouldn't even have mentioned the fact that there was a foundation that he was going to build on. And it's important for all of us Ghanaians to understand that government is a continuous process. I can tell you on authority that Alan Kojo Tremantin is not that man that you even get a word against an opponent from, because he does not believe in that petty politics of going after a political party, going after candidates. There are real issues that we Ghanaians need to solve. He talks about what he can do. Let me tell you something about Alan Kojo Tremantin. Senior,
Alfred, before you go there, I want to come.
No,
it's about the resignation.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. But then the big question, Alfred, the big question people are asking is, what was his contribution with the IMF discussion?
Unofficially, let me say unofficially.
Why unofficially?
Because let me say, it's an open gossip from me. I can tell you that he was one of the people that were serious about the negotiation. The IMF, there are people in the IMF that just wanted to deal with him directly. These are not from him personally, but we are a group, we hear conversations from here and there. They just wanted to deal with him personally. When you see the engagement of
he was the leading member of the conversation.
I wouldn't want to say that. Even with him, he'll tell you that there's always a leader, the president. When you know the man Alan Kojo Tremantin, he does not take glory for himself. The most important thing for him is that the work is done. It doesn't matter who does it. I always tell people
let's not spend too much time.
I always tell people, I always tell people that he's more corporate in the sense that he's more result-oriented than that politics of putting my name out. I mean, how many times have we even heard that he was the one that introduced the African wear, the Friday African wear? How many times have we heard he introduced, what's the name? Maslock.
Afraid if I should leave you might end up talking the whole day and do what you do best. Anyway. Let's move on. Let's talk about the what just happened this week. One of the biggest stories of the week. I mean, 8 students from the Chiana Secondary School who have been dismissed for insulting the president. A lot of conversations have been going on whether they were supposed to be dismissed completely or some other punishment should have been given to them. Let me start with you, Wanda. Where do you stand on this conversation?
First and foremost, I speak as a former president of the National Union of Ghana Students, and my heart bleeds.
I salute you, sir.
Yeah, my heart bleeds when you hear some of these things happening. It's too petty.
You think it's
You see,
pettiness?
it's
This is
petty,
the
it's
precedent.
petty in the sense that before 2001, we've had a law in this country called the criminal libel. And under this same president of the republic now, Akufo-Addo, this law was repealed in 2001. And the law being repealed gave us the leverage to do more of political discourse without the necessary rancor and the arrest and the detention and all that that we've seen in the past. And we want to say that, yes, Ghana has made a lot of strides over the years coming this far. And so when you see young people, unassuming, they didn't even know maybe perhaps what they were even saying. And they actually stated that they were only repeating what was in public space. There is nothing those students said that was not in the public space. And so you didn't expect that this high-handedness from the Ghana Education Service that is actually supposed to be
Have you
preserving.
listened to the audio? Well, whatever they said in the video, have you listened to it?
I don't want to listen because this same president has not set a good standard himself when he was
But
in opposition.
is it right for these young
I am
ones
not going to
to?
speak for what is right or what is wrong.
That's the basis on which the dismissal happened.
You see, I want to say this, and let me explain myself to you clearly. I'm saying that I am not saying that the students did well. That's the point we made clear. But I'm saying that these are students still under guidance. These are secondary school students, right? And secondary school students are all under guidance per our own curricula and all that at the secondary school level. They're supposed to be under, parental guidance, school guidance and all that. And so when they err, all we can do for them is to correct them. In any case, before this dismissal, they were on suspension. Can you imagine the trauma? Number one. Number two, the shame associated with it. Number three, the contact hours they've lost with their lecturers or teachers, as it were, and all the things that they are losing now. Okay, so Ghana Education Service comes out to say that we have dismissed these students without leaving any room for perhaps maybe some reform processes, like maybe some counseling and guidance for them, without leaving room for they having to come back to school again. What does it mean? Is it the case that you are sacking them so they go to the house forever and they become school dropouts? Because almost all the schools, including the private schools at the secondary school level, are all under the GES guidance. And so if you are sacking them and the whole body that is supposed to preserve their interests is the one sacking them, our concern is that, so where do they go from there? They become school dropouts. Which school do they go to? That GS will come after them. So indeed, the rash, the embarrassing spectacle of sacking innocent students because they said something against the president, I think it's in that here or there. We all live in our various communities and we see deviant behavior and we've seen how it should be dealt with. I don't think that it should take the presidency that level to come down to this level because some students have insulted the president or now. We were in this country when our own president, when he was in the opposition, called President Mills, Professor Doolittle and all that. All kinds of unprintable names, So they have set the platform, the basis for which people abuse political leaders. And I think that it's unfortunate that we have gotten to this level. This is not the level we should be getting. This could have been dealt with by the school disciplinary committee or something of the sort. They come to the president and apologize, be a bond of good behavior, and life goes on. What is all this spectacle, this unfortunate spectacle?
A quick one here. That's the president has intervened in the dismissal of the
that's
8 female students of the Chiana Senior High School. And yes, but I still want to talk about this because we just want to find out, is it even right, morally?
We can't be making moral argument. That's the problem. You see, the whole of society can't behave in one way.
I'm coming. If you say that we can't make moral arguments on this,
yes,
I would like to question that because we are using the same moral argument.
Because it's not based in law.
Please spare me to say this. Because we are using the same moral argument as part of our argument when it comes to accepting LGBTQ or not. It's part of our discussion.
Not necessarily.
I'm saying that because of our moral. What you say?
I agree, but I'm saying that not necessarily. That is not the only basis.
It's part of it. I said it's part of it. Yes.
And so, but that can't be the major reason. The reason it's a legal argument. That's why Parliament is taking these steps to rectify the lacuna with that LGBTQ. But again, on the issue of students, this has to do with child rights. You cannot. One of the responsibilities.
So you are saying that we cannot talk about this with moral conversation.
I'm coming. What is morally right to you may be morally very wrong to another. True or false? And so that's not sustainable in law. For instance, if these students decide to test the law today and go to the Supreme Court, I'm pretty sure that their rights will be safeguarded. They will be safeguarded any day. Because there is no law in this country that says that you can't say anything against the president. If the president has any other way of seeking, redress in court, he could have gone to court or anything of the sort, but not this kind of punishment. There is no law in this country that says that when a student insults the president, he should be sacked from school forever. There's no law. So it's not based in law. You can make the moral argument. You can make, all the, emotional arguments and all that and say that they were young and they shouldn't have said what they have said and all. We all agree that was wrong. But there are also remedies in resolving some of these crises. Our own children at home, our own, relatives, the people we live in the same community, we see deviant behavior. All students are not the same. That's why we have teachers. We have guidance. We have control. That's why we have a boarding system that they are made to live a certain style of life. So when they mess up, when they are not up to the standard, for instance, we know that mobile phones were not even allowed in schools. How did it get there? Who would you blame? The students or the lecturers or the teachers who are supposed to enforce the rules? They did not do that, and they recorded themselves. And then you are here all of a sudden, same GES that is supposed to safeguard that environment is all of a sudden cracking the whip. It doesn't make sense for me. And I'm speaking as a student activist. Because I believe that this is the foundational, stone of these children. The moment you kickstart this kind of argument about they should go home and be dismissed and all that, you are distorting their life. Only God knows what the destiny of these 9 children or 7 or 8 children are in the future. And so let's be careful. What have they said about the president that is not something we can rebuke them for or sign a bond of good behavior? What is it? What has been said about
I'm a bit worried.
So I'm law biased. I'm not going to sit here and make the moral argument because I believe that if they decide to test the law in court, the GS will be embarrassed. The spectacle of Achimota School should give everybody a wake-up call. That Achimota School felt that it was not morally right to have whatever. The guys went to court. What did they get? They got justice for it because there is no law. The Constitution has no provisions for moral arguments and all that. It has provisions for what is right and what is not right. And if we go along that line, I think that the GS were just making a fuss out of it. And the president too is being a bit, trying to be populist by announcing that he could have easily called the GS director and say, "Hey, Charlie."
No, but that's I'm coming. So the statement, according to the statement from the GS, okay, the president issued the instruction when his attention was drawn to the issue that the students have been dismissed.
Listen. Let this argument be thrown to the dogs. Excuse me. That the president is not aware that GES took such a bold decision. The destiny of 9 children were at stake, and the president is saying he was briefed later about
the president told about everything that happened.
The president is the man who gets briefing from all quarters of this country daily. Not you, not him, not me. So you can't tell me it was brought to your attention and so you decided to do. Yes, indeed it can be brought to your attention, but he was aware that these children did something against him, true or false. He was aware that the GES are taking steps to suspend the students. He was aware that they dismissed him. What is the issue of bringing something to this populist stand? I believe that if the president had anything to do, one of the things for him to have done was to invite those children over. Get them a group of serious counselors who can, do some moral switching, with these students. And then make them sign a bond of good behavior. In fact, that will really inure to the benefit of the larger student population. In any case, why are we here? Why are we in this kind of moral decadence in our schools that you want us to discuss? First of all, the boarding house system has collapsed in this country. That's one. Number 2, the teacher-to-student ratio has also been widened. The gap has been widened. Number 3, there's contact hours of students in school now, vis-a-vis the introduction of free SHS that has been very shambolic. We don't have that. So that control is no longer there. That discipline is no longer there. Our standards are falling. It's not only moral standards that are falling. Educational standards have also fallen. Go and find out what was the educational, the laurels of this China Paga school in the last 4 years. You understand that something is happening there. It's beyond the student doing what they are doing. The issue has to be with the fact that GES themselves have failed this country largely.
All right, Alfred, you see, as Ghanaians, we appreciate moral argument a lot. And that's Sakamai drew that into the conversation. But according to Mandela, he says that shouldn't be a part of the conversation. What do you stand on that?
He's becoming a lawyer, so I can spare him that. But Wanda is my friend. He doesn't like making moral arguments. He likes to make legal arguments.
But you see, we live in a setting where moral argument is a fact and basis for us.
That's where I'm coming to. Let's look at our society And let's understand one thing, that two wrongs doesn't make a right. If I called you names today and Bright, you realize that the name calling I did wasn't right. And another person calls you, or someone calls me a certain kind of name, and you have the opportunity to correct me. The good thing we can do for this country and for the good people of the world is that we let it end there. I wouldn't say that the fact that someone called me a certain name, so I'll sit and say that, oh, if another person is doing something I know is morally wrong, I'll endorse it, or I'll just say, I'll refer the person that, you did this. We need to move away from that in our society. For me, sacking or dismissing the kids, it's wrong. Education, Nanado has said over, is very important. And I'm happy that when the president's attention was drawn to it, he took a step. It doesn't matter whether he's revoked what GES said or about their dismissal or what. We need to understand that education is very important. When Wanda was making the statement, he said that, so you've dismissed them, then what will they do next? It's something we need to think about. We need to think about robust ways of disciplining our kids in school. When you go to other countries, foreign countries, they introduce something called counseling. Have they gone for counseling? Counseling will let us know that what's wrong with these kids. What are they bitter about? What's really hurting them? It would even surprise you that there's an undercurrent, and it doesn't even have anything to do with the president. But in the end, when everything happens in this country, there's always a number one man that takes the blame. So, first of all, I'm happy with the fact that the president said they have to be reinstated. But let's ask ourselves, going forward, what are some of the disciplinary measures that can help improve the discipline of our kids? It's not about using the cane. It's not about putting fear in people. I don't believe in fear at all, using fear as a tool. I mean, we saw the military regime, how people hated it. And that is not what we need as a country. How can we show people we love them, but still correct them? When the Bible says spare the rod, spoil the child, the Bible is not literally telling you to hit the kids with a cane. I think with this, I always tell people that when you work with Alan Tremantin, let me come back. He told you that when you're a leader, one of the things you have to always do is to keep learning. Learning comes with research, to put your ears on the ground to know what's going on. This is something that we as a people must look at as a case study. How did we get here? That now school kids are insulting the president. What can we do about it? What has been our shortfalls? And if we have a problem with free SHS, that the ratio to teacher, the teacher to student ratio has become larger. What are some of the things we can do? We've gotten to a point where we need solutions. We need to let people come together. Someone was asking me that, how come Alan Tremantin came to talk like he's the president? I said, no, he didn't come and talk like he's the president. He came to teach you that someone must be an example to set a pace. Now, we need to set examples that will encourage the next generation. For me, it's so sad that you have kids doing that at this age. But I also believe that there are different things that has contributed to how come we've gotten to this point. Another thing, he said they made a statement that this is what people have been saying in the media. Our leaders are people that you have the opportunity to be on radio, TV, whatever medium you are using. Let your speeches come with some cleanliness. Let your speeches come with some cleanliness. If I go on radio and all I hear, you see some of the things, sometimes people don't talk about it. But if you talk to a psychologist, you tell you that it has to do with the subconscious mind. What are we feeding with people subconsciously? When you get up, Do you know why every time I come on TV or I go on air, any other platform, I decide that the fact that someone has said something about a political candidate or someone from my party has said something about a political candidate does not mean that I have to repeat the same words. That is not the kind of politics we want to see in this country.
Would you say that, like he mentioned, what is it that this kid said that we don't hear or see people talk about the president? Would you say that whatever the kids said, or I won't call them kids, students, they are young women, whatever they said in the video is as a result of what they hear people also say freely, on social media or the traditional media? Would you say that?
Well, to a large extent, I mean, when you get into trouble, right, you are always thinking of things to say. It can be true and it can be false. But once they've mentioned that, we need to pay attention to it. It's something that I always tell people. Just don't throw it away and say, like, someone has come to the disciplinary committee, they say something and you think, because you think it's false, you want to throw it away. That's one problem we have in this country. The fact that I've made a statement, it can be true and it can be false. But how serious are we taking those statements? Are you getting it? So let's even take it as though it is true. Then we ask ourselves, how have we gotten to this stage? There's a guy on social media always insulting the president. And you have people on social media always insulting the president. And it's not just this president, previous president. And our previous leaders have received some distasteful backlash. Today I'm encouraging Ghanaians that those of us in the media space, let's let things that encourages, things that motivates other people. If you don't have any important thing to say, stay in your house. It's getting distasteful. This is not political, my brother. It's getting I'm telling you, it's getting distasteful.
It's
Sometimes I read comments, and I'm telling you, I read comments, and you get people say, because I support a particular candidate, you get people threatening you, people saying things, and I go like,
you see,
forgetting that we all have choices, forgetting that whoever you are supporting, it's your choice, and it's like you are imposing your choice on me. So because of that, you have to bring a word of insult. That is pettiness. That is shallow. It shows me that you are immature. And with such comments, I'll just delete and walk away.
When I want to speak.
You see, sometimes you can endorse an illegality, a deviant behavior by your own disposition or the way you handle issues. Some of these issues go beyond what is happening now. And we need to be investigating how we got here in some of these circumstances. If you talk about the political landscape, maybe I'll blame the president himself very much the more for the level to which we have gotten. I remember some years ago, my own friend, student, leadership days, Nana Dakwa said something about President Mos, if you remember. The whole MPP was behind him, supporting him for what he had said. When he called the president a gay, you remember? Do you remember? The president has not been bold to condemn that. In fact, a press conference was held at the Adabaka head office, their head office, to congratulate the guy. So you see, you cannot appropriate and reprobate. You can't behave like an ostrich all the time, trying to play smart.
But does it mean
if it is wrong, if by your conduct in the past you have behaved similarly to have endorsed some of those illegalities, including such deviant behaviors, this is what you get sometimes. I'm not saying the students are right, and I keep saying that that's not my argument at all. But I'm saying that this is showing up its ugly head now as a result of many things that have gone wrong in the past. And as a government,
should we condone it?
And as a government, what you should be doing is to solve the problem. Don't tell us what is happening. And I'm saying that to solve this problem, dismissal is not the solution to the problem. Do you know how many students have done this that it hasn't come out at all? Where do we get them? How do we correct them? And these people are going to feed into the larger society in the nearest possible time. So we should be looking at reformation of the characters of these people, rather than all this, being legalistic and we are dismissing. They are dismissing it to do what? Do you know the destiny of these children? What has been done to them at this point? Do you know what is going to happen to them in the next 10 years? how they will become a problem to this country, what human resource we are losing by just saying that they should go home without any, and I'm so disappointed by the GS that is actually supposed to protect the interests of these kids. They were the ones to tell us that, oh, okay, we have dismissed you, but you can come back to school after 2 years as part of your disciplinary measures. You write your exams alone. There are many things we do. You can go and ask them to do some, corporal punishment. They can actually weed for 1 week. They can actually be on, some form of reformation for a week. In fact, as a matter of fact, these children can be isolated and taught a simple lesson. And that will even communicate a better, position to the younger ones who, may have even been doing it on the quiet. But to say you have dismissed me, what is it? Some students don't even like school. So to say you have dismissed and they say, hey, bingo. Well, thank you very much for dismissing me. All
right,
so we need to look for reformation, strategies that will reform these students, not just them. What's the name? The counseling and guidance sessions in our secondary schools is completely broken down. Go to Ministry of Education and ask them whether their counseling and curriculum counseling something department is actually working or not.
How many schools do we have the counseling department?
This is the root of the problem. Not because somebody insulted. Is it because it's the president? That's why they are going through this. Right. If they insulted me, would they have been punished the same way?
So I'm here with Wanda Madilo, and who is a development analyst, also a member of the NDC, and I'm told he's soon to become a lawyer. Yes, and also Alfred Obiekumi is a former parliamentary aspirant for Adentang constituency, and we are talking about the biggest stories that happened in the week. We've already spoken about the resignation of Alan Kwadwo, who is the outgoing Minister for Trade and Industry, and also Mefri Akoto, who is the outgoing Minister for Agric. And when we come back from the break, there's more. Stay with us. This is Good Afternoon, Ghana. And thank you for staying with us here on Good Afternoon, Ghana. Still here on the TV. We are talking about the biggest stories that happened within the week. We've spoken about the resignation of Alan Kwadwo and also Free Akoto. And also we've spoken about the dismissal of 8 students from Chiana school here in Ghana as they've been cited for insulting the president. But the president has intervened. We're expecting them to get back to school, or maybe be given some other form of punishment, but not dismissal, which is quite harsh according to some school of thought. We are now going to talk about the economy. Where are we as Ghanaians? Are we seeing progress? The World Bank has come out to say that there will be pressure on the city if the country or the government doesn't put in place better measures to see the economy get back on its feet or progress. What exactly are we doing as a country? And I'm still here with Alfred Kom, who is a member of the MPP, and Wanda Madilo, a member of the NDC. Let me start with you, Wanda. I know it was you on your 10th one for the break. I'm still going to start with you because, oh my God.
Economy. These days we don't want to talk plenty.
Why? Yeah, I was speaking with Joe Jackson, who is the director of Deluxe Finance Business Operation. He tells me now tracking the city, whether to depreciate or appreciate, it's difficult. They've lost the track.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, you see, what's painful is that the managers of the economy do not even see there is a bigger problem. That's a basic problem we have at hand. Because we have a country whose inflation is virtually becoming a galloping inflation now. Where are we now? Where are we now in terms of inflation? What's the inflationary figure?
About 54 or so, yeah.
I mean, even Rollins didn't get to this level. Even a coup d'etat regime, supposed military regime, didn't get to this level.
But you know, we can't compare. We can't compare now till then. And inflation never comes down. We can't compare now till then.
Why are you not comparing?
Times are changing.
Yeah, it's better now. The economy is bigger. Do you know the total budget under Rollins at the time? The total, budget expenditure of government.
And as can see on your screen, as at today, the city is selling. Is that
please. I'm just from the bank.
25. That's a Wednesday.
I am just from the bank.
Yeah, that's at
this Bank of Ghana rate
11th. It's Wednesday.
This Bank of Ghana rate is a scam. Excuse me.
It's a scam.
It's a scam on Ghanaians. Now, how does it make sense to you? Carry your money to Bank of Ghana and let them give you the dollar. Eh? It's very easy.
You were there today?
I was in my bank today. And the exchange rate was 9.
Which bank?
I'm not going to mention. I won't do that.
Oh.
No, you can't do that.
The exchange rate was 9 and 13 Ghana cedis. 9 Ghana cedis and 13 Ghana cedis. Then you come and publish this for us.
No, this was on Wednesday, 11th.
So give us the current one. And I'm saying it's not real because you see, and because we've really dressed the economy that much. Now that it's gotten bad, we don't know where to start from because if you keep lying, you keep, forging figures, you keep, under declaring, over declaring, whatever you want to do with the figures, you are playing with them for a long time. When the reality hits you, this is what happens. And we know that the economy is in shambles. We know that Ghana is broke. We know that Ghana can't even afford. If Ghana was a human being, was say a father, by now you would have been selling your children, and that's what is happening. All these haircuts, the president comes out to say, individual bondholders will not suffer haircuts, even quoted the scripture to back it. At the end of the day today, it is the individual that is bearing it. The pension scheme is in crisis. People have invested monies in TB rates. It's also been a problem and all that. It's getting worrying. It's getting worrying. Now, if you are a father, excuse me, Mr. Host, if you are a father, you live in a house, your income per month is 10,000 Ghana cedis. Will you budget to spend 20,000 Ghana cedis? If your income is 10,000, would you budget to spend 20,000?
Well, where are you even going to get the extra 10,000 from?
So you keep borrowing and you keep creating holes, and because you are not borrowing free, you are taking the money with interest. So even if you are taking 10,000 more to add your money to spend today, you are going to pay more than 10,000 the next few years, and that's what has brought us here. When the MPP took over government, we were only 122 billion in debt. Today, over 400 and something, getting to 500 billion in just how many years? 6 years.
I just went on the page.
I think that these are the worrying trends we need to watch. Government must begin to know what are priority expenditures to be done, to focus on, which ones we can easily cut. You have an over-bloated government size. Do you know how much it costs to take care of one minister per month? His school fee, his allowances for his cook, his driver, for himself.
Hey, allowance for cook.
Oh yes. Oh
no, I don't think so.
Excuse me, if you don't know, don't say this.
Allowance on cook.
We have been in government, right?
So you've been in government.
Yeah,
you took allowance for cook.
You enjoyed allowance for cook.
No, you took allowance for cook.
Excuse me, I'm saying that we have been. I didn't say I have been in government. I said we have been in government.
That means it's an experience you are sharing.
Wow.
If you say you've been in government.
No,
this is
don't make it simplistic.
No, I'm just surprised.
Don't be populist about this. I'm saying that we have been in government. The expenditure that I set the expenditure on one minister. And so what? Even if we're in government, we're paying cooks, and so what? Did we have this size of government? Is that what we had? Did we have 120 ministers in government? Did we create this?
You can have about 4 ministers only, but the money spent on them might be equal to what is being spent now.
What
you don't think so?
Is that your point?
No, I'm only asking a question.
So
I'm saying, hold on.
Don't build on conjecture.
Madilu,
Yes.
I'm making the case
Yes.
that you can have ministers of 4, but money spent on them could be equalized to money spent on ministers of about 20.
And I'm saying, why are you doing conjecture when you have the figures? There cannot be anything like that. Is that the case today?
Is it possible?
But is that the case today? That's not the case today. So this conjecture is neither here nor there.
What of the case of allowance for cooks and all that? You were also trying to justify it.
And I'm saying that what is wrong if a minister has a cook?
No, it was part of your argument saying that the government now is paying.
And I'm saying that you are spending money on drivers, you are spending money on his security, on his cook, on his car, on his own salaries, and that amounts to something else. And I'm saying that if you have 20 of that, there's an amount you spend. If you have 100 of that, there's an amount you spend. So if you have more ministers, you definitely will be spending more. And that's the case. And that's what we have today, where government machinery expenditure is even higher than the budget of, say, Ministry of Health or the budget of, say, Ministry of Education. So where are the priority areas in spending? You are only spending money down the drain. Capital projects don't receive the kind of funding they should receive any longer. I have done a project somewhere in 2018 for one of the ministries, department, agencies. Till today, they haven't paid. They don't have the money to pay. And look at the depreciation of the city and see how many businessmen whose monies have been locked in these projects. Look at the Ministry of Roads and Highways. We have not been paid. So the reality is that the economy is in shambles, not because the MPP decided to do what they are doing. It has affected all sectors of the economy. We used to have a very, flamboyant, very, robust financial sector in this country. A lot of people were employed in the financial space. They came and said they were cleaning up. They had to spend 25 billion to clean a mess of 9 billion. And you say that this is not a mess? We have a government whose revenue was boosted by COVID. by over some $32 billion Ghana cedis. And in no time, in 1 year, they overspend that money. In what areas?
What really do you think is a problem?
Yeah, the problem is that they were spending in consumption. 1, in their personal gains. 2, contracts were overbloated. 3, and then finally, we were in a hurry to borrow at very outrageous rates. You're borrowing and you're not producing enough to pay. What happens? Then, very recently, you know, the Bank of Ghana went on the spree of their own, trying to print money for government. When they were caught, they said it was not printing and some electronic transfers and and all that. So for us as a people, we are tired of the NPP government. We are lucky that we are all in a regime today that we have to wait for some years to change government. Otherwise, I think that Ghanaians have tolerated this so much, and we are patient enough for that to happen. However, don't take the people for granted. For instance, all the people wanted for you to sack the finance minister. In any case, this same finance minister said he's not paid for the job he's doing. You are not paid for the job you are doing. The people say they are not satisfied with your performance, and the records show that we are not satisfied. Here is somebody who resigned from another sensitive ministry, and you allow that incompetent person who the whole public, including the international donor and partners, wanted out to be the one in charge of an additional responsibility. I think that is a slap on the face of Ghanaians. That's where we are worried. We're worried because the economy is not seeing the kind of leadership, the kind of growth that should be driven in all this space. Ghana never grew from COVID, from 2019 to today. It has always been on the downturn. And that's a worrying trend. It's not about NPP, it's not about NDC. It's about the level of decadence we have got into. Most renowned economists are saying that it will take us 40 years down the line to get back on our feet. Where did we go wrong? Is this the government that promised that we have the men and we have the competent, we know how to grow an economy, but we cannot bring back life, we can bring up the economy, we can't bring up... Where are we today?
All right, Manu,
we have a challenge.
Let me bring Alfred also in. Alfred, you have the last word because we are out of time.
Maybe he's looking...
I always tell people that one of the things that can move this country forward is truth. And first of all, I'm happy that the president gave a speech and he alluded to the fact that we are in economic crisis. At this point, you ask yourself, how did we come here? There could be different speculations. There could be speculations on corruption and all. The most important thing is that how can we come out of it?
You have the power. Bring us out. You took us there.
Wonder, we can sit here and make all the noise. But one of the things that one power you and I have is that every time we come on air, we can put hope in the hearts of Ghanaians.
Please.
Wonder,
nobody's being paid to run this economy.
There's an African...
If you run it down, let's call you out.
There's an African adage that says that when a fetish priest
let's be quick.
who lives in a town wants the town to go doom, he should remember that he stays in it.
We are not fetish priests, excuse me.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. It's an adage. Come on, it's an adage. It's an adage.
We're not us.
It's an adage.
We don't want this country. We've been warning you from day one that the rich,
I think you might have to make the point as quick as possible because we are out of time.
You did it. Where we are.
Okay. So it's important that we know where we are. First of all, I'll plead with Ghanaians that this is not what we want. This is not what we promised Ghanaians. But they should know that we are going to do it better before we leave. Before this Nanadu regime ends and Alan Chamantin takes over.
You're going to do it better.
Yes, we are. Things are going to turn around. I mean, you can see.
We are in 2023. Next
I'm saying it's going to. I'm telling you that I'm going to come back on this same studio. I'm telling things are going to be better.
What's the trick?
Before you said, what's the trick?
Yes.
You
IMF, they're looking for the IMF money.
It's not just about
IMF money.
The problem with NDC is that they always think that it's just about IMF.
But I know if as we speak, if we don't get that money, it's another problem for the country.
The only reason
I understand, it's not. That's what I'm saying. That it's not just about the IMF money.
But it's a bigger part of it.
It's a bigger part of it.
So why are you denying
make it just about the IMF?
So what else are you doing? Tell us what else you're doing.
Madilu, let's have you answer the question.
No, because
we have some time,
it's
please. Madilu, please.
That new, it will surprise you that new variants will be introduced, where you realize that even the IMF money is a new variant. Yeah, it's going to be introduced.
Interesting.
You have just read your budget. There's nothing in the budget.
Thank you so much. Alfred, we're out of time. Thank you so much for watching Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro TV. I was here with your mics are off. Your mics are off. I was here with Alfred, Kumi, and also Madilu, who are my guests on the show today. I'm right. Have a good afternoon. Up next, the TV showbiz. Bye.